All right, so here we go for the first of the videos classes, and we need to open our books to what's called the central vowels. That's chapter 6 in your book. And first off, let's take a quick review of stressing. Now, it comes into real play with these central vowels. So let's look first at most words have a primary stress and maybe a secondary, but maybe an unstressed syllable or multiple syllables. So remember that we've used our little tick mark to indicate the primary stress above the syllable and at the beginning of the syllable. Sometimes if there's a secondary stress, we put that little tick mark under the syllable, and that indicates that it's the secondary stress. However, there are a lot of words that simply don't have a secondary stress, and they've got unstressed vowels. Now, we English speakers turn almost all of our unstressed vowels, especially ah vowels, into an and so if you look on page 85 in your book, let's look at some of these. Now, once again, remember, there is some gray area in English diction. As we get further on into German and French, there really is no gray area, but we do have some gray area for English diction. So let's look at that chart on page 85. I'm going to read some of these, and you can see how there could be two different sounds that would be acceptable, and I will accept both on the test. Okay, so for instance, Dallas. It could be Dallas, or Dallas, right? Dallas, Dallas. Lettuce, lettuce. Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Let's see. Analysis, analysis. So analysis or sis, hear the difference. But there are some that only have one. Above. You would never say above, abiv. Oppose. Demon, belly, pallid, going. Okay? So those last ones only have one possibility, but those first bunch have two possibilities for that unstressed final syllable. So the central vowels, why do we call them central? Because they're formed in the middle of your mouth. And the first one we're going to consider is the sound Now, it has two symbols because we have one that represents the stressed version and one that represents the unstressed version. So the one that is stressed looks like this, okay? It looks like that little upside down carrot thing, whatever, okay? So we remember that this is stressed, okay? That one is stressed. So that's only going to occur in stressed syllables. So cup, hut, mutt, some, come, duck. So you notice that it can be spelled in multiple ways. Thank you very much, English spelling system. And so you could have lots of different letters representing the same symbol. Remember, a symbol is a sound, not a spelling. Okay? Now, conversely, we have the unstressed version of the same sound. So you've got these next words on page 86, which are represented by the what we term as the schwa. Okay, that symbol right there, that upside down looking E thing. And that is unstressed. Unstressed, okay? So let's look at these words in which the sound is unstressed. So aware, it's not aware, so aware. About, official, we've got two of them there. Suppose, even, cruel. Now cruel, you know, that it almost sounds like a one-syllable word, and often it is set as a one-syllable word. But when we phoneticize it, go ahead and put that schwa in there, okay, so that I know that you know that there's a sound there, okay? So the next set of sounds in the book are a couple of symbols that I'm not going to require you to learn. These are the ones that represent that sound, that lovely American R, which is, if you think about it, really a vowel, okay? We typically don't sit on that sound when we sing, certainly not in classical music, and don't do it in choir because your choral director will not like it. So in other words, you're not going to sing burn, her, sir. Now, granted, if you're singing country music, you probably will want to sit on this. That's fine. They make a lot more money than we do. But I'm not going to require you to learn it because you don't really need them, okay? So what we do is we take off that sound and just do more of an or an all right? So if you look on page 87, you'll see the two symbols that represent that sound. We've already seen the schwa. The other one is that one that looks like a 3 or a backwards open E. It sits above the line. Be aware of that. It sits above the line when it's a vowel. Okay, there's a very similar looking symbol that comes up later in the consonants. All right, so that one, we're going to call it the morning glory vowel. And that sounds like And why do we call it the morning glory? Think about what a morning glory flower looks like. If you haven't seen one, Google it, look it up. But you're going to put your lips into that position, more like this. Okay, you can kind of see that, what I'm doing there. I had a teacher in undergraduate school who had really big lips, and so it was really obvious for him. Okay, so that is represented typically by, I guess most often IR in the spelling, like bud, but you could also have OR, worth. Okay, we'll look at some others in a minute. Remember that that's only going to happen in a stressed syllable. What's the unstressed? The schwa. Okay, just like with the it's kind of the same sound. Okay, so let's flip our page and look at some of these words that would have that morning glory, the vowel. So we have the word hurt. Now, sure, if we're saying it, we're going to say hurt, right? But you don't want to sing hurt. So hurt. Think of it maybe as a little slightly more British. It makes for a better singing tone, and we're all about what makes the best singing tone. Okay, so we would have hurt, bird, heard, learn, earn, turn. Now, none of those can be schwas because, of course, they're all stressed, right? Each one of those is a monosyllable, a single syllable. So it's only got one vowel, so obviously that is the stressed vowel. Now, there are some others where we're not going to put an on the end, but we're still going to make that sound. So, for instance, butter, moda, acta, suffa, dala. Okay, those are all represented by schwas at the end as the unstressed syllable. Make sense? Okay, great. So, let's look at singing some of these with that sound. So, heard, bird, learn. Now, believe it or not, I know it feels weird, but if you kind of poke your lips out into that morning glory feeling, it's going to loosen up the tone. So listen to the difference. Heard, heard, bird, bud. I'm getting a lot more sound with no more effort. Okay? So we want to open that up so that you get the most open tone possible. Okay? Then looking down a little further, better, as opposed to bearer, ever. You notice you don't even really need the R. We understand it perfectly. And after all, remember, diction is all about communicating to your audience. People expect to understand the words, especially when you're singing in their native language. So, one thing you have to remember is, I don't care what language you're singing in, there's always going to be somebody in the audience who understands it. So don't think you're getting away with anything in the other languages, even if you're not doing it right. You are not getting away with it. So in English, especially, since we're largely singing for an English-speaking audience, you want to make sure that you are intelligible at all times. Okay? So let's look at a summary of this. So remember, we have these stressed ones. Okay, this is also stressed. Okay, so this is a, cup, butt, etc. This is a, bird, worth, heard. This is going to be unstressed. And probably the most common of these unstressed syllables is a final ER. Butter, beta, etc. Okay? All right? Good. So, now, let's look at some more of these in detail. So looking over at page 90 and 91, That's the sound, okay? Represented by this thing, right? Okay? So, let's look over at a little comparative chart that she has on page 91. We don't want to make sure that it's different from an ah vowel, right? Hot, hut. Bomb, bum. Lock, luck. Caught, cut. Got, gut. Okay? Now, as native speakers, we're not really going to mess that up too much, but you got to realize for somebody who's a non-native speaker, this is really hard. Okay? Let's look at some others over on the next page. So, we have our looking at our and then our the morning glory, right? So, mutt, murder, luck, learner, but, burr, mud, mercy, put, purr, hut, her. Notice that the sound, the stressed one, is almost always spelled with a U. The morning glory has multiple spellings, and oh well, there we are. Okay? So, now, be sure that you are using the correct sound. You don't want to, you don't want to mix those two up. Okay? So, looking at the next set of words there, those are all uhs, right? Mutt, luck, mud, put. That's our common spelling. We have some other possibilities. Other, love, money, punish. Remember again, no sound, no symbol. We have a lot of silent letters in English. For instance, the word love. Really common word to have to sing. We sing about love all the time. Be sure that you don't put any kind of a schwa on the end of that when you're phoneticizing. Otherwise, it'd be lava, okay? Which is a different word, all right? So watch out for that. Now, she also wants to just be careful that you don't stick it in your nose. There are some regions in this country where that sound gets stuck in the nose. We don't want to do that. So, looking again at the next set of words, the third set down there on page 92, we've got cut, such, double, duck, rut, mutt, put. Second column, come, sun, dumb, dump, run, punt, pump. Okay? Terrific. All right. Now, flipping on over to the next section, the schwa. The neutral vowel is what it's otherwise known as. All right? And it's only going to be in unstressed syllables. One small exception, there are some really unimportant connecting words where you could put a schwa and I would say it was perfectly acceptable. For instance, the word but. We'll see a couple of others, okay? So, the schwa sound can have many spellings because, remember what I said, we tend to turn all ahs and aws in English into that sound. Be careful about that in other languages, they don't do that, okay? We, however, make it a common practice, okay? So, sometimes the schwa gets sounded. Sometimes it can be left out, and that's up to the composer. If you've got a note for the schwa, sing it. If you don't, you don't. Okay? Okay, so let's look at our page 95 there. The schwa is the most common sound in the English language because, again, we turn all these unstressed vowels into a schwa. Okay? So, the schwa is that upside down looking E thing. Here we go. Agree. Affair. Offend, jewel, variety, sofa, ago, coma, president. Now, if you tried to make those stress, what would it sound like? Agree, affair, offend, jewel, variety, sofa, okay, etc. You get the idea. So, those are unstressed syllables, and it sounds really weird to our ears to try and stress them. Be glad you're a native speaker. Okay? So, now this next group are words that we often leave the schwa out when we speak. We're all sloppy when we speak. And that's great. That's what it sounds like. But when you sing it, if there's a note for it, you've got to do it. Plus, we need to be clearer when we sing because the audience's ear is hearing not only the words, but the tones associated with it, so they're taking in a lot of information. We want to be as clear as we can be. So, we've got bakery. A lot of people would just say bakery, right? Bakery, cabinet. Now, if the composer just gave you 2 notes, cabinet, do it that way. Parade, police, jewel. Now there's one that probably would often be set on just 1 note. Jewel. But jewel, if he's giving you 2 notes, she's giving you 2 notes, sing the schwa. When we're doing just raw phoneticizing without any music there, go ahead and put it so that I know you know it's there. Veteran, traveler, funeral. Okay? So we want to be sure we don't leave those out. Now, page 96. Here's the thing that's a little bit tricky. And you've got to get away from what your mind sees as the correct spelling. All right? So, for words that end in an E and have that LE at the end, you have to flip them around because that's the way the sounds are. So it's little, not litla, right? Even though we spell it litla, that's not what it sounds like, okay? So we have little, see your schwa there, able, apple, table, cable. Okay, so notice that it is schwa, L, rather than L schwa. Otherwise, you're going to end up with the wrong sound, maybe the right spelling, but the wrong sound. Okay, and phonetics is all about sounds, right? Okay, good. So, moving through this, we're getting along. We get to skip the next couple things because I'm not requiring you to learn these symbols. Now, you can go ahead and learn them if you want, but you don't have to put them on a test. I will not require it. So we're going to skip over to page 102. The central vowel, the morning glory, look it up as a picture and you'll see exactly what I mean. Okay? So you got to get those lips out. Okay? And your tongue tip is down at your lower teeth. Okay? All right? Now, I can almost guarantee you that some photographer will catch you with your lips doing this. That's the way it is. Okay, so let's look down at 103 just to hear some of these again. Okay, nus, term, curb, skirt, flirt, spurn. Now those are all as though they were in the second column. Okay, the ones without the So of course, if we were saying it, we say earn, fur, nurse, okay? Because we're Americans. If we were British, we wouldn't bother with that so much. But when you sing it, it makes a more open tone to forget the part and just do the okay? And that's what, again, we're all about is open tone when you're singing. We want the most beautiful sound you can make. And we also want to be able to understand the words. Okay, great. So that is it for the central vowels. So let's look a little bit at page 106 and just look at what the phonetic transcription of some of these vowels would be. All right, remember we're only doing the vowels. So for instance, page 106, number 1 would be the name Ernest. Now we'd say Ernest, right? Right? Ernest. Okay, so the first one is going to be the right? And then probably a schwa, earnest. I would also accept the capital I, earnest. All right? Ultra, the next one. Ultra. Where's our stress? First syllable. Ultra, it's not ultra, right? Ultra. So the first one is going to be, right? Ultra. The last one's going to be a schwa. Okay? Uppa. Same thing there. Uppa. Right, so our first vowel is the stressed vowel. That's going to be the and then the second one is just going to be the schwa, right? Don't have to do the little squiggly thing. Uppa. That's all we need. All right, so far so good. Let's look over on page 107, a couple of others. Let's see, let's look at number 16 there, that thing, that lovely thing that bees make for us. Honey, okay? Right? The first one is stressed, so it's going to be this, honey. And remember that that final sound is a capital I. It's not honey, honey, it, okay? Let's see, let's look at number 18, vigorous. So there, what do we have? We have capital I for the stress vowel, right? I, and then two schwas, vigorous, right? Vigorous. Okay, make sense? I think you all can handle the rest of it. Okay, so that's the end of this first video, and that's the central vowels. Get your homework done, review it, and let me know if you have questions. If you've got some questions, drop me an email. I hopefully will have access to email, so drop me an email and I'll see what I can answer for you. Okay, so I'll get busy here on the second video. You can watch these at your leisure.